All right, let's get going. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for another day to meet with the group Becoming a Six-Figure Woman. God, I'm so grateful for this inner circle. They are really pushing me to be better, and I'm just grateful for this assignment. Father, I ask you to come into our discussion this evening and just light it up like you always do. God, you've given us such an amazing resource. You've given us such an incredible vision. You have been working through our hearts. You have been literally uprooting things out of our minds and replacing it with all of your wisdom. And we're just so grateful for how far we've come, but how far we still have yet to go. It is the journey that you are taking us on and creating in us a heart that really desires to serve you, but that you also allow us to work in purpose. But God, you allow us to profit at the same time. Give us a heart to continue to reinvest our income, reinvest our revenue, reinvest into the kingdom. Allow us to continue to follow our kingdom assignments. And God, just continue to impart your wisdom tonight. Open up our minds, open up our hearts, allow us to see what it is that you want to reveal to us in this book and in our study tonight. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. All right, y'all, let's go. Let's get to work. This book. Oh my God, this book. We are on chapter 9, okay? And I actually thought about live streaming this to give people a taste of what we talk about, because I just felt like, and it's been like that with every chapter, but this was a really powerful chapter because I know a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of people struggle with this, you know, the failure mechanism. And yeah, a lot of people struggle. I know that this is a hard one for a lot of people. And he starts out chapter 9. Okay. Sorry, my glasses have a smudge on them. The title of this chapter, we'll start there, the failure mechanism, how to make it work for you instead of against you. Now, one of the things that I love, you guys, is before this chapter, we talked about the success mechanism just in chapter 8. And so he gives us that acronym for your success mechanism, right? And success is a sense of direction. The acronym takes the word success. So the letters of the word success, S is a sense of direction. U is understanding. C is courage. C is charity. E, esteem. S, self-confidence. And S, self-acceptance. Well, he does the exact same thing here about using the word failure, but we have this mechanism in place. And this is what was powerful for me to understand, that our body already has this thing in place already. But we have to learn how to use it for us instead of using or allowing it to work against us. So he starts with, he says that the human body has its own red light signals and danger signs, right? We think about the physical body. Somebody will eat however the heck they want to eat, and then all of a sudden they will notice that their body is not processing things the same way. They find out they're diabetic, right? And it's not that they were born with diabetes, it's because the way they've eaten, their body just doesn't have the ability to process the sugar as quickly and as efficiently as it could in the past, right? You find someone who operates constantly in stress mode, they're accustomed to it, it's become the norm for them, and they don't realize that they're putting that stress on the body and things are happening internally. So now the red light, that mechanism pops up, it's like, oh my God, something's wrong, my head is pounding, go to the doctor, find out now they have high blood pressure. So it's a signal put in place so you can respond appropriately and stop overworking your body. What's interesting to know is that we have that same thing that also happens mentally. That's interesting. So when we talk about the failure type personality, he says that it also has symptoms, and we need to be able to recognize these failure symptoms in ourselves so we could do something about them. Imagine the person, not everybody is like this, I wish we all were, but the person that, you know, they get, I'll give you a really good example. My cousin, She works for the CPD, Chicago Police Department, and it's been a rather stressful year for them. The last year has been really stressful. Not that that job's not stressful on a regular basis, but there's been a lot of social unrest. Think about what's happened over the last year. A lot of social unrest. They've been working 12-hour shifts, multiple days, back to back to back, little time off. And she was putting a lot of stress on her body. Well, guess what happened? A few months ago, she had an aneurysm, and she's only 50. She had an aneurysm. She was expected to have a 30% chance of recovery. They didn't expect her to live. Y'all, she did a Facebook Live video just last week. She is living. She still needs a lot. She needs help, but she's amazing compared to what they expected, right? 100% coherent, can have conversation. Still, she does need some assistance with some things, but she said, listen, that boss bee life, that taking care of everything, being a bad bee, she said, no, that's toxic. And now I get it. Now I understand the stress I was putting on my body. She got a red light signal. And as a result, immediately started making changes. That's what we have to do when it comes to like this failure type personality, right? We got to start to make changes because our body is going to react to those things anyway, mentally and emotionally. So he says, when we learn to recognize certain personality traits as signals or signposts to failure, y'all, this is so powerful for me. These symptoms then act automatically as negative feedback and help guide us down the road to creative accomplishment. Let me read that again. I didn't do that well. When we learn to recognize certain personality traits as signposts to failure, these symptoms then act automatically as negative feedback. And that will tell us, because we're getting the feedback and it's negative feedback, it lets us know the adjustments that we need to make. He says, however, we not only need to become aware of them, we need to feel them. And we do. All right. We need to recognize them as undesirable. This is important. This part is really important. Okay. We need to recognize them as undesirables, as things which we do not want. And most important of all, convince ourselves deeply and sincerely that these things do not bring happiness. We have to convince ourselves. Why did he say we need to convince ourselves? We all know somebody that is like miserable, and you don't have to be. Like, we all know somebody who has a personality and we're just like, you are miserable all the time, all of the time. All you do is complain. All you see is the negative side of anything that is happening. You ask for a promotion at work and you got it and you still mad. Like, now you complain at a higher level because you're getting more money. We all know somebody who they are negative all the time. Literally, when they come in the room, they suck the life out of a room. And the reason that it is so important that he says we have to recognize this is because you can find yourself falling into a state where you will become that person, where you are the person who is negative and you don't realize that people around you thinking you are negative all the time. You can fall into that state where you are constantly, you don't take responsibility for things. It's like my daughter who's 8 and she'll say, but mom, it wasn't my fault. But it happened to you when you were the only one present. Whose fault was it? Like, how can it be somebody else's fault? I don't understand. And so adults do the same thing. Adults literally feel like it's not my fault. And so what they do is they pass the blame on somebody else. And so what he does here is he points out that nobody is immune to these feelings. Not one of us, not even the most successful people. They're not immune to it, because it's like, I found it to be like a cold. That's how I thought about it. Nobody's immune to a cold. You're going to catch one. But there are some people that do a really good job. They have preventative measures in place so they don't catch as many colds. They actually have a strong immune system because they get 8 hours of sleep every night. They know how much sleep their body needs, and they get that amount of sleep on a really consistent basis. They actually eat healthy. You know, they make sure they have breakfast, lunch, dinner, a couple of snacks, and they're healthy. It's not like they have Krispy Kremes for breakfast, Burger King for lunch, and Chipotle for dinner, and then toss in a candy bar for a snack. Like, they're eating healthy. They actually take extra vitamin C. They take a multivitamin. They work out. They boost their immune system. And so they're not as susceptible to germs and colds. You know what I mean? But then that doesn't mean that they're not going to get one. That's not what that means. But when they get it, they recognize and they're like, oh, They know what to do. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make some ginger tea with some lemon and some honey so I can soothe my throat. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a cough drop. I don't necessarily feel like I need medicine this time, but maybe if I take this ginger shot, maybe if I eat this ginger can, like just different things, because they're susceptible to it it happening to them. And then when it happens, they understand, okay, let me slow down and fix this. I can fix this. Okay, so it's like a cold. These negative symptoms, these adverse symptoms of a failure type personality even happen to very successful people, but they recognize them and they don't get stuck in that place. And so this is what the picture of failure that he calls the failure mechanism looks like. He takes the words or the word failure, F, frustration, A, aggressiveness, I, insecurity, L, loneliness, U, uncertainty, R, resentment, E, emptiness. Okay. So I'm going to breeze through these because what I want to do is, I know you guys have read up on the information and I want to get your perspective of what was like the biggest, most impactful piece for you guys when it came to this. Because I think this is powerful, because you know how you'll read information, you'll watch a video, you'll see something and you look at it like, that's not even me, so it's okay, it doesn't apply. Only to find out that, no, this affects us at some point or another. Like it does at some point. And so because it affects us at some point or another, we got to catch it and then understand how to move past it. Okay. And so one of the things that he points out, remember when I talked about the cold, I said there are people that do the preventative measures, so their immune system is strong, so they're less susceptible to it. Like the success type personality is less susceptible to a lack of responsibility, right? They're less susceptible to loneliness and uncertainty, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So if it does happen, there's a cure for it. And he says that the cure for that is understanding. When you understand what's happening, it's awareness, y'all. When you understand what's happening, you know exactly what to do in order to lessen the length of time you're affected by it. When you know you got a cold, you know what to do to lessen the amount of time you're affected by it, right? Unless it's just one of them doozies of a cold. Under normal circumstances, a regular cold, we know how to lessen the effects of that. Right? If I know I'm really struggling with a sinus headache and some sinus pressure, I'm going to have a Sudafed. And I'm going to literally drink some ginger tea. I know this about myself. So it lessens the length of time I'm affected in an adverse fashion. So when you have a success type personality and you understand the cure for this, he states them throughout this as we go through each one, but it lessens the amount of time that you're affected by these failure type personality traits. The very first one is frustration. He says that frustration is an emotional feeling which develops whenever some important goal cannot be realized or when a strong desire is thwarted. Everybody on the planet Earth has experienced some type of frustration, especially when it comes to building your business. Like you don't hit a goal when you want to hit it. You may be working towards that goal, but then the day doesn't go as well as you want it to go. You may have outlined this day, it's going to go perfect. And then at the very beginning of the day, everything gets derailed. And so it's normal. This is when it becomes toxic. This is when it becomes a failure thing. See, it's normal to have some frustration. Everyone experiences that. But it becomes toxic and extreme and a symptom of failure when you experience it so much that it brings you excessive emotional feelings of deep satisfaction and futility. That's when it becomes so toxic that now it's become a failure symptom, a symptom of failure. You stayed in it so long that now you're in an emotional state of dissatisfaction. And that's different. You can be, it's like a person, you can be, what's the word? Oh my goodness, I just had a brain freeze. Offended. Someone can offend you, or you could just stay in a state of offense, meaning you ain't never forgiven them and they done moved on with their life. But now every time you think about them, you see them, you mad all over again. You're stuck in it. So when it comes to frustration, you've allowed yourself to get so stuck in it that you have an extreme emotional state of dissatisfaction, deep dissatisfaction. That's when it's a failure symptom. Okay. He gives some examples people. There's this gentleman, and I see this all the time. And I'll be honest with you, this is something that I have to remind myself of. He says there's a gentleman that he gives. He said Jim was a successful man. He had risen from the stock clerk to vice president of his company. His golf score was in the low 80s. If y'all don't know, that's actually pretty decent. Okay. My dad golfs all the time. He had a beautiful wife and 2 children who loved him, but nevertheless, he felt chronically frustrated because none of these things that he had measured up to his unrealistic goals. He felt like he should have been chairman of the board by now. He felt like he should be shooting in his low 70s instead of in the low 80s. He felt like he should be such a perfect husband, such a perfect father, that his wife and his children never disagree with him, and they never misbehaved. Like, I don't know what life he was living, but he wanted a perfect lifestyle versus a practical lifestyle. And I see this in my own family. For example, if I'll get frustrated with my husband, get frustrated with Wayne about something, and then I'll be like, you know what, in the whole scheme of things, this is stupid. Because I know right now, there are some women that will switch places with me and men that will switch places with you. Get it together. We good. Right? There are people that if I look at the kids and I get frustrated, like I used to get really frustrated with Jalen. And I remember his basketball coach telling me one day, Demita, honestly, if that's the only problem you have with him, you really got good problems, because you should see some of the things that some of these other parents are dealing with. I was like, dude, thank you. I needed that. I needed that right there. Because I'm real pissed off that the bottom of the dishes are oily. Like, I'm ready to just throw everything in the house. Do you hear me? I mean, just throw everything. But then you have families, their teenagers are leaving and not coming home to the next day. Like, where they do that at? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. A 13-year-old leaves the house and doesn't come back for 2 days. Like, that's a thing. And so it was such a great reminder. So it's a practical lifestyle versus a perfectionist lifestyle, right? He gives another example. He says Harry, he talks about his self-fulfilling prophecy. So he says Harry was different. You know, he had none of the external symbols of success like the last gentleman he used as an example, like Jim. Not the low golf score, not the, rise in corporate America, not the amazing, beautiful wife, really good children. He had none of that stuff. His self-image was such that he felt unworthy, incompetent, and inferior. All right. He felt like he had no right to succeed or to enjoy better things in life. And you know what happened? It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. You guys are aware, because we've talked about this, the self-image, over and over and over. I know you guys are familiar with the book. We've also mentioned Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That it is so true that what comes out of your mouth really does dictate what your life looks like. I'm learning that more and more. Oh my God, and more. And so his failure mechanism is what it is. His frustration, he's causing it because he feels so unworthy. He's in a loop. He feels unworthy, and so he attracts more unworthiness. You have the first person that's doing has this really great life, but because he wants it to be perfect, he's frustrated because it doesn't live up to what he thinks it should be. Then you have the other person that their life sucks because they say their life sucks. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So feelings of frustration, discontent, dissatisfaction, they are ways of solving problems. This is so powerful that we learned as children. I look at my son. When do we make the transition? That is what I'm learning. I look at the baby, the 4-year-old, Jacob. Every baby in the history of time, same thing. He has learned, like he will walk upstairs. This is hysterical. He's been doing this now for 6-8 months, we noticed. And he'll have this really fake cry. Now, he wants to get solicit a response. Like one of the kids will do something he doesn't like, and he'll come running, screaming. And then the cry, he doesn't realize that his face is fake. And we can tell, he thinks that because he's doing a crying activity, like emotion, that we really think he's crying. So it looks like, baby, that is fake. I'm gonna need you to walk away with that fake cry. But where did he get it from? He got it from the fact that every single time that he cries, we respond. That's been his case since birth. He cried. We soothed him. I picked him up, I patted him, I rubbed him. I wanted to make him more comfortable. He cried. I fed him. He cried. We changed his diaper. He cried. We tried to figure out what was wrong. He cried. We burped him. He cried. He's sleepy. Let me rock him to sleep. Let me help get him to sleep. He's been doing this now. He's 4. He's 4 years old. He's been doing this for 4.5 years. It's all he knows. Well, guess what? As adults, that's what a lot of us know too. And you don't think about it that way. And the interesting thing is I have children at these stages of 4 years old, 8 years old, 14. So you can see this little transition. Like I'm trying to get Giselle to understand. Jacob did something yesterday and they were down here playing. And I was like, Giselle, whatever it is you guys are doing, he doesn't like. So can y'all do something else? And her response to me was, but that was Jacob. I said, I don't think you heard what I said. I didn't yell at you. I didn't yell at Jacob. I said, whatever you guys are doing, he doesn't really like. Can you guys do something different? Okay. But she immediately goes into defense mechanism, frustration, right? She immediately goes to defense mechanism. So I'm looking at, and then I have a 14-year-old that I'm trying to teach also to take responsibility for his actions. And so I look at the infant, the toddler, who still is trying to solicit a response by crying. And where do you learn? Is it possible to learn it before you are an adult, that the world does not care if you cry? Like, do we have to be 40 when we figure it out? You know what I'm saying? And so we've learned it since childhood. We learned that we solicit a response when we're frustrated by voicing the frustration, by showing the frustration. And so what we don't understand is that life does not work that way, because they don't see us as infants anymore. They see us as really grown adults that should be able to figure out how to push past the frustration. And so I love what he says. He says thoughts, and we've heard this so many times. I meant to grab that book, but I did not. Thoughts and feelings go together. Thoughts and feelings go together. I'm gonna back up for a second because I wanted to read something else before I said that part. That is, start with me. Okay, so he says that all children have to do is feel frustrated, dissatisfied, and the problem is solved. It works for children, it doesn't work for adults. Yet, many of us continue to try it by feeling disconnected and expressing our grievances against life, apparently in the hope that life itself will take pity, rush in, and solve our problems for us, if only we feel badly enough for life to do it. And I don't even think people realize that that's what they're doing. Awareness, that's why he says awareness is the cure. Awareness is the cure. Now I can see myself like, ooh, just don't say nothing. But you want the world to come in and pat you on the back and pick you up and rub your back. It's okay, Demita. It's all right. It's okay, right? It's not going to happen, right? So he says that Jim was unconsciously using this childish technique in the hope that some magic would bring him the perfection that he wanted. Harry, the second person, had practiced feeling frustrated and defeated so much that those feelings of defeat became habitual. He projected them into his future and he expected to fail, and so he did. Which brings us to thoughts and feelings go together. Feelings, oh, this is powerful. Feelings are the soil that thoughts and ideas grow in. Feelings are the soil that thoughts and ideas grow in. This is the reason that you have been advised throughout this book to imagine how you would feel if you succeeded, and then feel that way now. I use this as an example several times, and I will continue to use it because it is one of the most powerful personal examples that I've ever had. Imagining speaking at that event, getting in the moment, so much in the moment that I lost track of time, I lost track of space, that I thought I was there, and I experienced it physically, that I was literally in tears, only to open my eyes and be sitting on my own couch and shocked, like thoroughly shocked, like what the, I thought I was on a stage somewhere, because I got emotionally involved. And so that emotion, those feelings, that's the soil that the thoughts and the ideas grow in. That's the soil. Good seed can fall on concrete and nothing happen, but good seed in good fertile ground, that is different. And Earl Nightingale says your mind is soil. And so you can plant whatever you want to plant there, good, bad, and different, and it will grow. And so you are responsible for what grows there. The second failure mechanism, aggressiveness. Y'all, this is really good. He says excessive and misdirected aggressiveness follows frustration as night follows day. You get frustrated, then you get pissed off and aggressive. Like I had to think about it myself. I was like, that is so true. When I get frustrated, I get extra aggressive. Dysfunctional aggressiveness. Dysfunctional is when you're so annoyed. He gave an example of a gentleman at work. He said he's so frustrated at work that he misdirects his aggression towards his family. He said the worker who wants to punch his boss in the nose, but doesn't dare. He goes home and he snaps at his wife and the kids and kicks the cat because he can't do it to his boss. Misdirected aggression. That's when it becomes a failure type mechanism. What he points out that I love, he was like, but you got to get aggressive. Like it's a necessary part of reaching a goal. Like you can't tentatively go towards a goal. You got to go full steam ahead towards a goal. You got to push. And I love that. He said aggressiveness and emotional steam are very necessary in reaching a goal. We must go out after what we want in an aggressive rather than a defensive or tentative manner. Aggression also, we have to find a way to release it. We have to find a way to release it, right? Because it's a part of what we need for a goal. It's why you can get frustrated when you're not moving forward. And so then the aggression comes next. You got to have a way to release it. He said it's like steam building up. You got to have a release valve for it to come out. And so some examples that he gives, like he said, I like this example. It's the woman who gets really frustrated and starts moving furniture around her house. She likes to start cleaning. And now today you so mad you cleaning underneath the couch. You ain't cleaned under the couch in like 6 months. You cleaning under the couch, you moving the table to the side so you can mop the floor, but by the time you're done, you feel better. It was a release valve. You were able to release the steam. Y'all, that's so powerful to me, okay? And so just knowing that aggression is a necessary part, but it gets dysfunctional when it's misdirected, when you don't have that release valve. Of course, exercise, physical activity, all those types of things are great ways to release, all right? When you don't have that, that's when you have dysfunctional, right? The third failure type personality trait is insecurity. And I would be surprised if everybody hasn't felt this at some point. And this is good. He says the feeling of insecurity is based upon a concept or belief of inner inadequacy. You feel inadequate. If you feel that you do not measure up to what is required, you feel insecure. A great deal of insecurity is not due to the fact that our inner resources are actually inadequate, but due to the fact that we use a false measuring stick. We compare our actual abilities to an imagined ideal, perfect, or absolute self. Thinking of yourself in terms of absolutes induces insecurity. You want to know what that means? Using a standard like Instagram. That crap is not real. Like I cannot get over how I've done more filterless stuff on Instagram recently because I don't want to give this false perception of this perfect life. It's really not like that. So I've done a lot more no filters, you know what I mean? Because we look at those and we're like, man, they're perfect. Let me tell you, this is when, this was for 5.5 years ago. Yes. 5.5 years ago is when I started I started learning how to touch up photos. It was about 5.5 years ago. I was shocked that I could make my own self thinner in photos because I was doing social media for people. You can make yourself thinner in photos. Like you can make your stomach come in some. You can actually take, I could take this part of my jawline right here and I could sink this in a little bit so my face looks thinner, right? I could take it and touch up right underneath my eyes and get rid of like the little bitty lines right there. I could get rid of it. I could go under my eyes again and I could make this a little lighter. They have a thing where they can just smooth out. So if you're like, I may be a little darker around the exterior of my face and I'm a little brighter in here. And so they have these things where you can actually make it one full color and it'll automatically adjust. I could actually make my nose like a little more slender and I could make my lips like a little thicker or wider. I can make my eyes like a little more slanted. I was floored. I learned that you could do these things like 5.5, 6 years ago. Do you know that once I learned it, I stopped believing the ads on television about weight loss? Because before that, I did not. I was like, there's no way that there's no way that that person they're like fixing that photo. That person really lost that weight, until I learned how to touch up photos. When I learned that I could literally make people look 30 pounds lighter, I stopped believing what I was seeing on TV. Because before that, I didn't even know that software could do that. I didn't. And when I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I stopped believing it. And what's happening right now is we see all these perfect pictures of people on the internet. Don't even try to compare yourself to somebody on the front of a magazine. Are you kidding me? Don't even. I know she has dimples in her butt. Why are they not on the magazine cover? You can't be that size without dimples. Stop tripping. But I'm tripping over my dimples. Why her legs so smooth? How do I get my legs like that? How do I do that? Why can't I seem to do that? Let me tell you, when I was a really good friend of mine, she's a personal trainer, and I asked her, I was like, sis, I cannot understand how are they getting, like, I'm still working through my own little issues, right? Trying to appreciate my little shape. And I was like, I just don't understand. How do they have like these massive butts and this little waist? Like, how is that possible? She said, girl, that's not real. They get surgery for that. I was like, everybody can't possibly be getting surgery for that. She said, Damita, I promise you, most of this is surgery. Really? Are you sure? Like, it was just hard for me to understand. So when you realize what you're competing with, what you're looking at, what you're comparing yourself to, you're insecure compared to something that's not even real. You're insecure. Let me tell you, I could take the pictures with my family that looked amazing. Like, I mean, just perfect. But then guess what? You would not know. You wouldn't know that Jacob eats dog food if we don't hide it and put it up high enough. Right. My son eats dog food for a snack. Like really, if we don't put it up high enough. You would think, oh my God, they're the perfect family. And you wouldn't know that he got in the trash can and ate grease. You know how when you fry chicken and you had well, guess what? I threw it out. He went in the trash and he ate it. Yes, out of the trash. What are you eating? Jacob, what are you eating? So I could take the beautiful pictures and you could think, oh my God, they are like the perfect family. Or I could be honest and tell you my son likes to eat dog food for a snack if we don't put it up high enough. That's what people are competing with. They're competing with the perfect picture, the perfect family. Because y'all know it's Christmas time. We could get all the matching. Oh, I could do it. We could get all the matching pajama sets, the red, green, and white stripes, y'all. I'm telling you, we could do it and be the front of a Christmas card and look like he just is perfect, the perfect little angel. And then you would meet him and come to my house and be like, her whole Instagram is fake. That's what we're competing with. So insecurity, oftentimes we're competing. Y'all laughing because y'all know it's true because y'all have met him. So it's the insecurity of us trying to measure up to something that's not even real. Okay. And so this was really good to me. He said that you can fight as well as a champion. Whose quote was this? I forgot who he quoted. He quoted somebody and he said, you can fight as well as a champion when you're a contender, if you'll remember one thing. When you step into that ring, you're defending the champ. Oh, that's the second one. Sorry, hold on. No, that's the right one. You're defending the championship. Let me say that over. Why did this come up? I didn't explain this part. I highlighted it, but I forgot to explain the connection. Okay, so when insecure, let's imagine, we have Tanisha on here right now, right? So let's imagine that her company, she's gotten a lot of accolades for her company, okay? And so instead of her focusing on just getting better, she changes her focus and shifts it to, I got to keep proving that my stuff is good. Like you go from, I'm just going to keep my eye on getting better and making my company better to, oh, I gotta make sure I do as well as I did last time because they were here the last time. So this display, it's got to be even better than the last one I did because I got to prove that I'm better than I was the last time. Do you see how the motivation is different, subtle yet different? One focuses on he gives the example of a championship team. So let's think about any sports team, and they work their way and they fight to win a championship. Okay. Well, guess what? Now you have a competitor that following year for a championship. The championship team, they're no longer thinking from the mindset of, we got to get this championship. They're thinking from the mindset of, we got to prove ourselves again because we got to keep this. See what I mean? But yet the contender is like, we got to get this championship. That's where this quote comes from, because it's a shift in where you're focused. He says that you can fight as well as a champion when you are you can fight as well as a champion as when you're the contender, if you'll remember one thing. When you step into that ring, you are not defending the championship. You're fighting for it. So you want to keep your perspective up, keep looking up. Don't look down like, oh, wait, they're coming. I got to maintain what I did because they're coming. No, you keep looking up. Insecurity will have you looking like, oh, I got to hang on to this because it's going to look some kind of way if I don't do better than I did the last time. Right? But when you stop focusing on how you appear to other people, trying to keep up with something false, like my perfect family photo without a kid that eats dog food, right? When you stop focusing on that and you just focus on continuing to get better, your insecurity can go away. Loneliness, number 4. All of us are lonely at times. Again, it is natural. He calls it a natural penalty because when we're born, the overwhelming majority of us, we're human and we're alone. Right? We're not with someone in utero, we're individual, but it is the extreme and chronic feeling of loneliness, of being cut off and alienated from other people, that is a symptom of the failure mechanism. What's so interesting about this is there are people who feel cut off, but they cut themselves off. For whatever they're feeling inside, they separate themselves. And when they separate themselves, they feel lonely, and now they're uncomfortable putting themselves back out there. It's like a catch-22. Once again, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when you become so lonely that you alienate yourself, that's a failure mechanism. Because listen, can nobody run a business? No one can have an adequate business in a silo. You need other people who buy your products. Like, who gonna get them? Who buy your services, right? Number 5. Uncertainty. This was good. He starts this section with this quote: the greatest mistake a man can make is being afraid of making a mistake. Now that's good. Uncertainty is a way of avoiding mistakes and responsibility. It is based upon the fallacious premise that if no decision is made, nothing can go wrong. Behind wrong holds untold horrors to the person who tries to conceive of himself as perfect. He is never wrong. He is always perfect at all things. If he were ever wrong in his picture of perfect, if he were ever wrong, his picture of a perfect, all-powerful self would crumble. Therefore, decision-making becomes a life or death matter. It is really challenging to always be with someone who's uncertain and does not make decisions, for one of 2 reasons. One, they're always perfect, and so they choose not to make the decision. They always defer. Or the person who has no confidence, so they can defer to you. Because the perfect person, okay, this is really interesting how he explains, and I know I'm going through this quickly because I really want you guys to have some feedback before we're done. The perfect person, when they defer to you, if it doesn't turn out right, they can always say it was because you did it. Okay, they can always say that's why. And that's why it's a failure mechanism. You got to be able to make decisions, right? How many of you guys have been around somebody that does not make decisions? Like, they just literally will not say yes or no. They just won't say yes or no. It's like, oh my God. And so you make the decision, but then when it doesn't turn out good, you're the one at fault. We've all experienced this. It's a failure type mechanism, okay? And so always putting the other person where they could be at fault. Number 6, resentment. When the failure type personality looks for a scapegoat or excuse for his failure, he often blames society, the system, life, or the breaks. He resents the success and happiness of others because it is proof to him that life is shortchanging him and he is being treated unfairly. Resentment is an attempt to make our own failure palatable by explaining it in terms of unfair treatment, injustice. You guys, this is a big one, especially for black and brown people. It's a big one. This is a big one because it's so easy to point outside and say that's why things are not going correctly. It's easy to do. Like, it's easy. We got statistics that prove it, right? But the reality is you still get to control your own life, right? And when we blame outside forces, you give 100% of your control away. It took me a while to understand that, because in my mind, I remember thinking, but if it's really not my fault, I don't understand. But if I keep thinking of it as not being my fault, guess what? I have no control over how to fix it. None. Because that means if it's another person's fault, then they have to be the ones to fix the problem. If we're talking about a business and I'm saying it's somebody else's fault, if I'm saying I'm in network marketing, it's the company's fault, I'll never win in that company. If I feel like it's the company's fault, then I'm not successful. I'll never win. If I feel like it is the team's fault, then I'm not successful. I can never win because I can't make the team do anything. If I feel like it's my sponsor's fault that I'm not successful, I can't win. I can't change my sponsor. And even if I go to another one, I can't change that person if, once again, I feel like it's my sponsor. But if you can, instead of resenting outside forces and understand, if you can take the attention inside, then you could actually find a solution that you can act on. Like, I can't act on, let's just say I was like, my sponsor sucks. I can't act on that. What am I supposed to do? Make them change their personality? No. But if it's inward, I can figure out what I need to adjust. Okay. And he talks about how resentment creates this inferior self-image. Ooh, that section right there. The real cause of resentment. Remember that your resentment is not caused by other people, events, or circumstances. It is caused by your own emotional response, your own reaction. I heard somebody say recently, and when I was reading this, I was trying to remember who it was, and I can't remember. Ugh. Whoever it was, they said, I have been doing this long enough to know. It was in the coaching field. I've been listening to so much stuff, I can't remember. They said, I've been doing this long enough to know that if, oh, I know what it was. I remember. There was a gentleman, his name is Billy Osgood. I think it's Billy. He said that, you know, he's a motivational speaker and he speaks around the world. He even has some motivational mixtapes, you know, you can download them. And in one of them, he said his friend, who's a personal trainer, was telling him, man, you know, when I say your name, people know who you are. He was giving him all these props. And then after all of that, he said, but how come you don't go to the gym? How come you don't put that into your health? Billy got upset. He was like, who he think he talking to? I'm too busy for that kind of stuff. If I get off track, then I'm not going to be able to focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, if I start focusing on this, then I'm going to lose my audience over here. Like, I don't know who he think he's talking to. So his friend continues to tell him about his health and all this stuff. And he listen, he get off the phone like, this MF here, I don't know who he thinks he is. And he said it hit him. It hit him that if he had all them kind of emotions just based upon a simple question, he'd been doing this long enough to know there was something there. Because the reality was he was 40 pounds overweight. And with him being 40 pounds overweight, he had never been that heavy. He was a very fit person in the past. Like, he was very fit. And he found himself living in a body. He said, this is not even mine. I'm living in a body that is not even my body. And so it was a source of discontentment for him. So for his friend, the trainer, to bring it up, it sparked all the emotions on the inside. So when you have resentment externally, you got to remember that it's often caused by your own, something you feel emotionally, internally. It's just that you have an external reaction to it. Whether you show it to the person or not, 9 times out of 10, they know, because you can't fake energy. But you have to remember that. He said, as long as you harbor resentment, it is literally impossible for you to picture yourself as self-reliant, independent, self-determined, a self-determining person who is the captain of his soul and the master of his fate. The resentful person turns over his reign to the other people. They are allowed to dictate how he shall feel, how he shall act. He is wholly dependent upon the other person. Y'all, that was so powerful. Then there's number 7, emptiness. Emptiness this way, it gives you, or you lose your capacity to enjoy. Okay. When you have lost the capacity to enjoy, no amount of wealth or anything can bring success or happiness. Emptiness is a symptom that you are not living creatively. This is so interesting. Like we've seen this before. We've seen examples. The successful person on the outside that has all the things, like the one we used as an example earlier, Jim, has all the things, but yet they're not happy. Think about who do we lose this year in 2020? We lost a couple of key figures. Anthony Bourdain, like he traveled the globe. He looked like he was just living the dream life. Oh my God. The comedian whose name just went right, Miss Doubtfire, his name just went like, it's gone. But you guys probably know who I'm talking about. Like, such a blessing to the world through comedy, yet both of them took their own life. Because emptiness, it doesn't matter. You lose your capacity to have joy. You can't be, or you're not as creative. This is, yes, Robin Williams, thank you. It's so interesting because this is what I found. When you're overwhelmed with any of these things, any of these 7 traits, frustration, aggressiveness, insecurity, loneliness, uncertainty, resentment, or emptiness. When you have any of those things that you're dealing with, this is what I have found. You cannot be your most creative self. You can't. It is so important to do the things necessary, the head and heart work like we're doing. It's so important to start your day out with an abundance mindset, hence why we do savers every day. It's so important to feed your spirit, your soul, your mind. It's so important to feed your heart, because if you don't do those things and you find yourself just overwhelmed with life in general, or any of these failure mechanism personality traits, it's almost impossible to create. Impossible. We are all creators in our own way. We create something. And I don't mean just creative in terms of art. No, we're all creators. God used me to create becoming a 6-figure woman. Can you imagine if I was inundated with stress? If I was full of resentment, looking at somebody else's life, not happy with my own, can you imagine? Then I would not have been able to hear and feel what it was he was trying to get me to do through becoming a 6-figure woman. You literally cannot be your most creative self when your mind and your heart is full of baggage. That's why you must release every day. You absolutely must. You have to get those things out, and you got to start with a fresh slate, because you have an audience of people that are dependent on you to show up as your best self. We don't know who they are. We don't know everybody that's watching, but somebody is. I had a young lady reach out to me the other day for coaching. She found me on the internet. I was like, that's nothing but God, because I don't even work on, I haven't put any effort into that website in 2 years. And someone still used it to reach out to me, you know? And that's not the first time that's happened. Like in the last month, I've had a couple of people reach out to me for coaching and set up Zoom calls. It's amazing. And I'm just like, whoa, God, do your thing. Do your whole thing. Okay. But if you're not in a space where you can be open to create, you got to let those things go. You got to open up your heart and your mind. Like, God, what are you going to deposit? Whatever it is, here I am. Right? Whatever it is. Okay. So these personality traits will stop you in your tracks. Now, the reason the title of this chapter is The Failure Mechanism, How to Make It Work for You instead of against you, is because he wants you to be aware that these things happen. Remember the cure. The cure is awareness. So being aware that they happen, that way you can use them for you instead of against you. So he says he merely, where is it? Okay, here it is. Automobiles come equipped with negative indicators placed directly in front of the driver. We know when it's time for an oil change. We know when our gas is getting low. We know when the tire pressure is off. We know when the ice is icy on the road, the conditions, they come right in front of us, right? We get these notifications, check engine light, whatever it is, it pops on right in front of us, not off to the side, right in front where we cannot miss it. They're the warning lights, right? And so what happens is that the person who's driving, he doesn't like try to fix it immediately. It says he merely glances at the negative indicators, the check engine light, the low fuel light, the oil change light. He merely glances at the negative indicators from time to time. When he does not fix them or dwell on them. He quickly focuses his sight ahead of him again and concentrates on the positive goal where he wants to go. So you need to be able to identify and feel these negative feedback mechanisms. You need to be able to identify them and feel them, but you don't stop all your progress like, oh my God, I'm feeling resentment. Stop moving. No. You still focus on the goal, but you recognize it now. Now you know it falls into one of these failure type mechanisms. What happens when you notice it? Now what do you do? How do you use it to help you? He gives us specifics. One, okay, we are sensitive to the negative to the extent that it can alert us to the danger, because now we understand what they are. So we're sensitive to it. We recognize it for what it is, okay? Something undesirable, something we don't want, something that does not bring genuine happiness. And then we take immediate corrective action and substitute it for an opposite factor from the success list of success mechanisms, which once again are S, a sense of direction. U, understanding. C, courage. C, charity. E, esteem. S, self-confidence, and S, self-acceptance. So you want to recognize, y'all, it's literally what scripture says. It's like exactly the same thing scripture says. Scripture says, I should have had this scripture ready, but God just sent it to me. And I say it all the time and I cannot remember it verbatim. But whatever be good, whatever be true, whatever be lovely, whatever be a good report, think on these things. So you literally snatch the negative thought when you have it, you recognize it, you stop it, you snatch it, you grab it, throw it out, and you replace it with things that are good, lovely, of good report, like you replace it. So what he's telling you here in a secular way, not a scriptural way, is when you recognize you're having one of these failure mechanisms happen, one of these traits, stop it, recognize it's happening, understand it doesn't serve you, identify which one it is, replace it with the success type mechanism. That makes sense? Good stuff. Any feedback on anything in here? Really quick, I underlined this sentence. It says negative feedback will act as a sort of automatic control to help us steer clear of failure and guide us to success. That's the very last sentence in that chapter. That's a powerful sentence. Any feedback, anything in particular that you feel like stuck out to you, that you felt like was powerful when it came to this particular chapter? I know we never have time to go over both chapters in an hour, but anything that stood out for you that you had a good takeaway?
Yeah, for me, it was this one part that says life becomes worthwhile when you have worthwhile goals. And so there was a time in my life last year where I just felt like this can't be life, man. Like I get up, I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner, I go to sleep, and I do it again. I'm like, every day, this is it. I'm like, this can't be life, and the thing was, I didn't have any worthwhile goals, or at least I wasn't focusing on them. My thing was go to work, pay these bills, come home. And I'm like, but something in the back of my mind just kept saying, but this ain't it. Like, this can't be it because I'm freaking miserable. This cannot be it. And I'm like, oh, what is happening? Like, why am I stuck? Why am I in this place? Like, what should I be doing? Like, there has to be, I know there's more because I know you and I know how you created me, and this ain't it. So just being there and then being here now with actual goals, and actually moving forward, moving toward those goals is a totally different space. But what stands out a lot is the fact that people are stuck where I was stuck. And they're not really trying to move. They just going with it. They just like, well, this is life. This the hand I was dealt. And I'm like, no, it's not. And even if it was, shuffle the cards, like move some stuff around, look for something else to do. Like something has to change. And I'm like, God did not put us here for this, to be some robots and to just get up, go, come back, see it. You know what I mean? That's really how I felt. And I was like, so that stuck out to me a lot, because I'm like, it's a miserable place to be. Very unsatisfying, and it doesn't have to be like that. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that it does not have to be like that. Like, you can change your mindset, you can change your environment, change your circle. And reading these books and stuff, man, I'm telling you, I'm so grateful for where I am today. I could just run around this wall, because I didn't really know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to get out of it. And I'm like, Lord, this ain't it. So I'm just so grateful for this community and the wealth community. Like, I'm just so grateful for y'all. Boy, I was just not in a good place at all. So
that is so good. Well, you know what? One of the interesting things when you were talking about, but so many people, they stuck and they don't want to change. This is what I want to let you know. Your circle starts to change. Just like you're elevating your life, you're going to elevate your relationships. You know what I mean? And so, it's weird also, because you have your core set of your people, you got your family, you know what I mean? And so in reality, you want all of your family and friends to win with you, but it's just not going to happen that way. And so I remember recently, Randy had put up a post, and it says something about losing relationships or something along the way. And I was like, Randy, that's one of the hardest things for me in this entire journey. But what I also know is that as you continue to elevate, you will elevate your relationships, like you will elevate your circle. And there will be some people that they will watch you, everybody's watching. A lot of them are paying attention. And there will be some people you will inspire to start making steps. But even if people don't, you have to be okay with the decisions that they make and the choices they choose. And that's okay. We all have an option. But I know once you start getting this knowledge and this information, it's good stuff. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
What you got for me, sis?
So mine, in the past, I connected with, I want to say, just frustration a little bit. And it would be more so frustration on the days when I'm baking, right? So you pushing yourself to do too much on the day of the event. So I've grown, thank God. I am growing. I have grown past that. But so my event, I pushed myself to step out there and go a little bit further in a more upscale environment. So I prayed on it, and I opened up the app and I moved. I'm like, okay, we're doing this, right, babe? We're doing this. He said, we're doing it. I'm like, we're doing it? Okay, we're doing it. So we took a step, we moved forward. The day of the event, I'm finishing up everything. They're packing up. I made a ton of cupcakes, so I had my whole little team in place. Everybody's packing up, finishing up on the last cupcake. So in the past, I would be like, oh, you're stupid. Why are you doing this? This is dumb. I would say, like, I'm quitting. I'm done. I wasn't meant to do this. Why did you even put me in a position to make cupcakes? I even said, I actually did say some of those things. And I was like, instead of continuing on, I stopped myself this time before I moved forward. And I was like, no, you are meant. That's why he gave you this. You're a curse breaker, Tanisha. Then I started turning on my gospel music. Then I started speaking to myself even more. In the midst of that, when I started speaking to myself more positive words, my mixer exploded everywhere. The last batter, it was so full. It was like, I was like, nope, calm down. Keep going. So I related to the frustration part of the aspect of things in my business. But I've noticed my growth and just constantly growing in the area and being more focused, allowing to protect my focus in this and protect what God has for me, what he wants me to do in business with my cupcake business and things like that. And I got some things in the works, and I'm so excited about it. So this book is
it is so good. And it's amazing because when you look at like that whole experience, when you look at it, it's really about the journey. And you got to be excited when you have a frustrating experience like that and you catch yourself. Because see, if this was 3 years ago, you wouldn't have caught yourself. You'd have went down that rabbit hole.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I remember them days.
Exactly. Look at the growth.
It's not meant for me to do this. I don't even know why you told me to start this business. I can't even bake. Then the rabbit hole would be, I don't compare. All the rest of these people, they're better than me because they've been doing this. They learned how to bake since they was 5 years old. They've been in the kitchen with Nana this long, and I just got in the kitchen yesterday, And so, but for me, and now I'm like, no, I belong here. And then recently, I've been partnering with different people, partnering with somebody recently, and I felt inferior going into the kitchen with her because she had the title of chef behind her name, right? I get in the kitchen. First, let me tell you, thank you, Demita. So I'm talking to her, right? You'll see why. I'm talking to her and I'm communicating with her, and she starts to say things like, oh, wow. Oh, I see. And I told her, I said, I was honest. I said, let me tell you. So I was inferior coming into this kitchen with you because you had the title of chef, and because I'm a baker, but a baker with pretty much moved by the faith of God, and that's just it, right? Not just it, but just faith moved on faith. And she was like, "Girl, that's the best thing ever. You didn't have to go through the stress of school and all of that stuff, and you just move it." And I am, and I know, and it just, I'm learning to accept more of that and be able to be more confident and stronger in what I'm doing and not comparing myself to other bakers. Like I do belong here. I have something different to bring to the table. And the other thing I want to say is like my marketing skills. When I was communicating with her, she was like, I don't do that. And so as I was trying to put together the video for marketing, I was asking her for pictures. She couldn't give me anything. And I'm like, how long have you been doing this? And she was like, I said, well, give me these pictures. It's food. So people need to see your food. We can't just put a flyer up, even though and that's what we ended up doing. We can't just put a flyer up and they don't see what you've made. That macaroni cheese, people move with their eyes. And so you can't just say, oh, yeah, I'm going to buy her macaroni cheese because she said on her flyer, macaroni and cheese. And so she was like, she kept taking mental notes for me the whole time. And it just constantly and I'm like, wow, okay, thanks, Demita. I said I was going to tell you eventually, but thanks, Demita. The marketing skill, the growth over the years and being connected and listening and all of and I was like, now I get it. I do understand when the student is ready to teach, it will appear. I get that, but that happened in this case too as well. So
that is so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is so amazing. Let me tell you, I understand. I'm on my own journey. You know what I mean? On my own journey with y'all. Like real talk. I don't act like, oh, I'm so far above. No, I'm on my own journey at the same time. Right. And so it's funny because the other day, Friday, today is Sunday, Thursday, somebody said something about a book last weekend that I read some years ago. It's only like 150 pages, right? So I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that book. I got it on Kindle. Let me just start reading it. I don't even remember how long it was, blah, blah, blah. 24 hours, book was done. Read the book in 24 hours, 150 pages, read 24 hours. When I tell you my reading muscle off the charts, it's like ridiculous. Like I'm a heavy lifter in the reading department, like heavy lifter. Like you got real weight, come on, let's work. 24 hours, book done. Okay. And it was so amazing. And I bring all that up to say this. I was like, oh my God, I forgot. I have been doing those pieces. I've been doing it was magnetic sponsoring, right? And so I was like, oh my God, I forgot. I've been doing that. I forgot. I need to make that adjustment real quick. I got to make that adjustment. I forgot about that. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I look at all that I have what I have been consuming. Oh God, you guys, I'm still in school. Let's not get this twisted. I am still a student. Okay. Pray for me because this semester I have, not semester, quarter, I have theology and philosophy. Yeah, I feel smarter just saying it. but but my point is, there was a time and I'm like, how am I going to handle this? How am I going to make this work? Let me tell you, when you are gifted with and graced with the gift that you have, you better operate in that thing and be okay with it and walk in confidence with it. It was interesting. A young lady called me, and it's all going to make sense in a minute. When I spoke to the young lady the other day who was interested in coaching, she said, when I saw your website, you literally said everything that I've been thinking. Really? That's the one thing I didn't think I did well, was I didn't think my copywriting was good enough. She was like, it's literally everything I've been thinking, the exact things that I wanted. Really? Right? So I look at that conversation, confidence in that conversation. I was who she was looking for. She was like, God literally directed me right to your website. Thank you, God. That's amazing. Right? I look at, there was no way, if this was some years ago, I couldn't have read 150 pages in a 24-hour sitting with some breaks in between trying to get some stuff done. I couldn't have done that. Right? I look at all the other content that I'm consuming, and I'm looking at my knowledge level just increasing. I'm looking at it. I was in a clubhouse last week. That clubhouse led to a lady popping on. I was like, can you go live with me on Instagram? Yes, I can. I just talked to her. And guess what? I'm going to show her. She doesn't know it yet. But when we're done today, I'm going to reach right back out to her, because our Instagram live was right before this. I'm going to reach right back out to her and be like, it was so amazing to connect. And it really is. Like, it's amazing. She's another believer. You know what I mean? And so it's all coming together. Now, in the beginning, had you said, in the beginning of network marketing 10 years ago, had you said it would be 10 years? When I launched my coaching company 5 years ago, had you said it would be 5 years? I'd have been like, I'm good. I'll just go back to work. I'm good. Not realizing the time was going to pass anyway. You guys, when Wayne and I were sitting down going over some finance, and I said, babe, I don't think you know how much money we make. Because I was floored. The increase. I don't think you know. He was like, no, I just know what. And so I was sharing the numbers with him, and I said, I didn't realize that it was this dollar amount either. I didn't realize it. To go through everything we've gone through to get to where we are now, and we still haven't made it. You know what I'm saying? It was worth it. Let me tell you something else. Last night I went to dinner. My aunt, okay, celebrated her 75th birthday. So we went to dinner, a family dinner. It was really nice. So we go to dinner. And she said, okay, look, let me just get your autograph tonight. Okay. Because when you had your reality TV show and when you every place else, I want the autograph I want it tonight. Right. And so I prospected our server, and she was like, excuse me, you need to know who she is, because she's really important. I met a brand new aunt last night. She was like, you need to follow her on Instagram. She has been promoting me. She said, so what time do I need to be on Facebook tomorrow so I can like, it's just incredible, the support factor. But this is why this gets so interesting. My niece, she started working at the post office about 4 weeks ago. Okay. 2 weeks in, she was miserable. Okay. So she asked me my opinion. Now, before she asked me my opinion, her mother says to her, I'm going to wrap this up. Her mother says, you haven't given it a chance. Her father says to her, you need to stay. My father says to her, but the benefits are good. All of these things. Y'all, she called me. You think I told her any of that? Of course not. Of course not. I said, listen, let me tell you something right now. You are 20. I got to do the math again. It's a shame, but I do for real, y'all. She's like 28, something like that. I said, you are 28 years old. You are the only person that can live your life. Nobody else can live your life for you. Your mother can't live your life for you. Your father can't live for your life for you. Granddad, he can't live your life for you. Everybody's giving you feedback based upon what they feel like is best for you because they want you to do well. I'm telling you, or I'm asking you, what do you want to do? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? She got her license to do hair in Indiana. She wants to go back to school again to be an esthetician, add these things together. What she really wants to do is makeup. Okay. I know that you're not a physical person. You carrying that mail all day, you and I both know at the end of the day, she was spent. She was exhausted. What did we just say? When your mind is consumed with all that, you have no creative ability left. At the end of the day, she had nothing left to give her craft. Nothing. I said, it sounds to me like you already know your decision. She had given her 2 weeks notice from Target, so she left on good terms. So I told her, have you ever thought about going back to Target? She was like, I want to go back so bad. Call them. You left on good terms. What's the problem? Call. So like the next day, she was in that area and happened to see her store manager in the parking lot. Had a conversation. Guess who got her job back? Guess who quit the post office? So I reminded her yesterday, and I had a Thanksgiving dinner. This is interesting. We're having dinner at my parents' house. And once again, everybody's on her about the post office. And she ain't saying nothing. She just sitting there. Everybody on her. My dad like this, my sister's this. I was like, okay, y'all, I can't let her sit here by herself and go out like this. She asked me for my feedback. I told her to do what she felt like was best for her. Bam, that was it. The conversation at the dinner table stops. Everybody moves on to the next topic. Not because I shut the conversation down, but because she has to do what she wants to do. And she doesn't have the courage to stand up to y'all. So I'm gonna help her do it. Okay. Last night, what are we, 2 weeks removed from Thanksgiving? She's back at Target, a lot happier now. And it wasn't until she got back to Target that she says to me, I actually want to go back to school to be an esthetician. This didn't even come up while she was at the post office. You know why? She couldn't think. She was exhausted, like no creative energy left. And so I say to her yesterday, I said, let me tell you something. You see how everybody at this table giving me all these accolades right now. When I first quit my job, my parents were like, what are you doing? I remember in our first network marketing company, my dad was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, is something wrong? And he was like, no, I just need to talk to you, because I knew he wanted to talk to me about how much effort we were putting in the company, but we were not getting paid a lot. Guess what I did? I didn't go over there for a couple of weeks until that conversation dissipated, because I don't need that kind of feedback right now. I didn't ask you for it. I didn't solicit it. I'm building my dream, not yours, not yours. And I won't apologize for that, because now when I'm sitting at a dinner table, we get accolades. We get accolades. And I told her, you got to remember, you cannot trust your eyes. You can't. You don't have sight. You must have vision. And that comes from your imagination. You are in your late 20s. Use your imagination and build the life you want. Because your mom means well, she can't live your life for you. Your dad means well, he can't live your, none of us can live the life that you want. You got to go out there and you got to build it. And so I say all that to say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The journey is the journey. It is literally about the person that we become on this journey. I could not have stood up for her the way I did a couple of weeks ago had I not been on this journey. I could not have stood up for her the way I stood up for her if I didn't look at our account and be like, dang, I didn't even realize we had hit this number. I didn't even know. Oh my God. I couldn't have done that. But because I went through that journey and I took them darts, I took those hits. I remember the uncertainty, because I respect my parents, but you got it wrong this time. I said, if you had stayed at that post office, you're going to look up and it would have been 15 years later and you would have still been there. What you were supposed to do was get out now. And you did that. And I'm proud of you. So when you forget, when you hear everybody else, I want you to know I'm proud of you for following what it is you wanted to do. So y'all, I think that's a good way to close it. Keep pressing. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Tanisha? Let me
I was just gonna say, I just had
let
that
me
same
take the spotlight. Okay, good. I want to make sure the spotlight wasn't on me. Go ahead.
I just had that same conversation with Anaya, but it's been about a few weeks ago. She came to me and she said she was miserable at her job. She by the grace of God, every job that she's had is in her field right now. So except the little Amazon money she gets on the side when she going there, she wants some extra pocket money or something. But she's been working in salons. God just constant favor. Of course, you know, prayers of your mama. She don't even know, you know what I'm saying? But let me but yeah, so she has been, I mean, just having total favor over her life. And so now she's in a new salon. But the problem is that she's parking on the street every single day and she's paying for parking. And you know, as an assistant, you're not getting a full amount of money, right? But she's had some things that has happened. And the conversations for me with her is always get everything that you need from this position. You don't think that this is favored? This is favor for you. So whatever you can receive to go to your next level, she wants a building with multiple levels in it. Barber level, nail level, braid shop level, beauty bar level. I said, okay, let's do this. You can have it. I know you can have it. The girl is amazing. And I keep telling her that. But anyways, she was not feeling respected at her job recently. And I told her, it's not about respect right now for you. It's for you to grab everything that you need from this space and then move to the next level. And it was money and something like that. I said, once again, you're going to this with service. And I'm so grateful for that. From the last company to understanding with this company and the service aspect, I can give that to my girls to help them get that understanding versus what I had when I was working at Kenny's Ribs, when they told me to wash the walls. And I said, no, don't you have a maintenance man? Had I had that understanding, I would have a better, a greater work ethic that I didn't have to push towards it and gain as I'm getting older. But so she decides, she comes back and she says, I want to leave. I want to go to hair school. She was in college at that time. And I just want to drop all of my courses. And I said, what do you want to do? I said, this is not my story. This is not my life to my shoes to walk in. I said, yes, I want you to graduate from college. I said, but yes, I want you to have the life that you want to have. And she was like, she took a deep breath. I guess she thought I was going to tell her, no, you go to college and you finish and we're going to walk you across, I'm going to see you walk across that stage. You're going to give me a diploma. I was like, that will be her dad. So he pushes college. Nah, mommy. I say, push for your dreams and push for what you want to do. And if God is blessing your hands for you to braid hair and become the top braid in this world, in the country, then do that. And so she says, okay, she comes back like the next day, Mom, I dropped out my classes. I was like, okay, so now what's the next step? So she's going to braiding school, she's getting her license. And then just today I asked her, I said, so what's the next step now after you get your license? We're not about to boom, boom, boom. What I have and what God has given me, you're gonna have. It's always, we're the ones. We are the curse breakers in this family. My family is, and I get it. We're gonna do this. So what's your next step after you get your license now? We're not about to sit back and then Amani with her music, but anyways. But yeah, I just had that same conversation with Anaya, and whew, yes, that I'm grateful for being able to be around people, with the same mindset, and that way I won't be, anyway, just causing damage on somebody's journey pretty much, and stopping them from becoming who they are. So yeah.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I love it. I love it. All right, y'all. Well, that is our call for this evening, wrapping up chapters 9 and 10, but actually we only talked through 9. It's very difficult to get through 2 chapters a night every time we do this. We will have another session. I'm thinking about possibly next week, but that is going to be it for the recording.